Dr. Fauci testified under oath to Congress under questioning by Senator Rand Paul that the NIH and NIAID had not funded gain-of-function research. Was that statement truthful?
Well, as we've shown and as we've talked about, that was a lie.
And that lie can be proven by publicly available documents?
Dr. Fauci denied under oath that they provided any gain-of-function research, despite the fact that we have a long track record of gain-of-function research. In fact, that gain-of-function research even occurred during the time that it was shut down during the Clinton administration due to concern by scientists like myself that saw problems with infections getting out from gain-of-function research. That money still got funneled around primarily through Peter Daszak, to whom it got funneled out to Barrick and Xi Zhengli and other sources. And they're denying that they're connected with each other. Just completely goes in the face that they have publications, published papers where both of their names, Barrick's and Xi Zhengli's, are on there. You can find the publications that show NIH funding. I mean, this was not a well-hidden secret. NIH has now come out since with a statement admitting that they have provided gain-of-function research.
And part of this gain-of-function was designed to make bat coronavirus spike proteins infectious to humans when they were not before.
It's very clear from the research grants that were paid for by the United States, from the published papers that Xi Zhengli and the others have published, by the patents that have been published, that they specifically set out to increase and made possible the ability of these viruses to infect, particularly with the HKU4 and the HIV pseudovirus glycoprotein 120 inserts that Xi Zhengli and the others were involved with, that they intentionally sought to make this more infectious and, in fact, accomplished it.
And who were the main players in these genetic engineering experiments?
Well, the primary ones that we know of are Peter Daszak at EcoHealth, Ralph Barrick at the University of North Carolina, and Xi Zhengli at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. But we know that there's been other individuals involved. We know that other universities, including here in Texas.
How were you able to uncover this gain-of-function research and who funded it?
There were a lot of very interesting sources that were coming forth suggesting places to look, but basically what I did is what any researcher does when they ask a question, which is if you know what question to ask, you can get a wealth of information if somebody has it out there. So I began querying the federal funding sources, specifically looking at EcoHealth and gain-of-function research. And that allowed me to run down the actual grant numbers. So what we have in the book, you don't have to take my word for it, is the actual grant numbers, how much monies there were, whether it came from the Department of Defense, which, by the way, paid for more than half of this.
And did you discover there were attempts to cover up the funding of this gain-of-function research?
Well, yeah, there were a lot of attempts, not very good ones as far as I'm concerned, by including the Lancet letter where, Daszak and so many others got together and then published that this was obviously a naturally occurring virus, doing everything imaginable to skew the scientific medical literature to get people to not consider the possibility of it being a gain-of-function lab-oriented bioweapon.
And did this research violate any treaties or laws?
The Biological Weapons Convention Treaty is very specific. It states that any bacterial agent, in this case a virus, that does not have a benefit for humanity is a violation of the Biological Weapons Convention Treaty. And it's important to note that this is a treaty that the United States has signed and ratified. Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution states that treaties are the supreme law of the land. The signing and ratification of the Biological Weapons Convention Treaty, the signing and ratification of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the United States participating in the Nuremberg trials of 1947 to establish the Nuremberg Code and how patients should be treated, the Declaration of Helsinki that the U.S. has committed to for research patients, the American Medical Association Code of Ethics on Informed Consent, that anybody violating these have already demonstrated that they not only are interested in providing informed consent and patient rights, but if they're violating a treaty, they have violated the U.S. Constitution. And anybody who has taken an oath of office anybody who has stood there and sworn to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States, who then ignores these treaties, funds these treaties, funds violation of these treaties, as was done in this instance, who refuses to allow patients to have informed consent, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. If you've done that, you have violated the U.S. Constitution. And if you've taken an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, then you have committed treason.
When you reached the conclusion that SARS-CoV-2 was a bioweapon released on the planet, what was your reaction?
Uncomfortable and disappointed. These individuals have presented nothing to suggest that this type of research was something that they thought was for the benefit of humanity. And considering the funding sources